and welcome to Finextra. I'm Hannah Wallace, and with me now is Jerry Norton, Vice President and Global Head of Banking for CGI, and we're going to be talking about transforming protection. Hello Jerry, thank you very much for taking the time to speak with us today.
Hi.
So firstly, why is security and protection for banks such a hot topic at the moment?
Well, our own data, we conduct a Voice of the Client survey every year. Our own data is supporting that view. For retail banks, 90% of retail banks cited this as being the top industry topic. Corporate and transaction banking, 74% said this was their biggest spend area and was their key priority for the next 12 months. The reasons for that are a number. Firstly, there's GDPR in Europe, and GDPR, if you get a breach and you don't notify, you could be up for 4% of your revenue as a fine. Well, that concentrates the mind of any board in any bank. Secondly is the move to real time. Pre the move to real time, you had plenty of time to check things, to look for fraud, look for anti-money laundering patterns. Move to real time means you have less and less time, which is an issue. But I think the biggest point is digitalization. The key weapon that banks have as a protection of their business in the new digital world is trust. And survey after survey points to the fact that banks still have trust, or customers still have trust in their banks. And so therefore, if banks don't protect the data and are not seen to be protecting that data, then they'll lose the trust and customers will go elsewhere. So the fundamental protection of a bank's business is around protection of the trust that they have with their customers. Therefore, I don't want data breaches. Therefore, I don't want to have a reputational damage associated with that.
Okay, and looking to the future then, how do you see protection transforming?
Firstly, I've got to look at the data across the whole organisation and potentially externally as well, in order to get a much bigger data set in order to derive the right checks that I need to do to detect fraud or whatever. But secondly, I think you need to move from being reactive to being proactive. Much of today's anti-money laundering and anti-fraud checking is done reactively. It's done after the event. I set up a rule, I've got a set of rules, and I then change those rules according to some pattern that I've then seen. I've got to actually move to use machine learning or some form of artificial intelligence in order to try and detect those patterns when they occur rather than in the past. And that means new technologies, new techniques.
All right, so what are the main challenges here, and what are banks doing to protect themselves and their customers?
Well, from a bank perspective, one of the key issues is to not let bad actors into the value chain. So whether it's a consumer or a corporate, you want them to be fully vetted, fully checked, authenticated, such that they're not going to do fraudulent transactions, for instance. However, that conflicts with the demand from a digital world and the new sort of customer expectations and the customer journey that I want to get onboarded very, very quickly. And so in the consumer world, where I'm opening a bank account, I can open that in 5 minutes, contrasts with the old days where I went into a branch and took lots of bits of paper to prove who I was, and that took 2 weeks. So how does a bank sort that out? Well, it's got to look at the broader ecosystem. It's got to try and use data, albeit protected, in order to actually work out who I am and be assured that I am Jerry, and therefore that I'm not a bad actor and let in. In addition, the industry needs to develop tools which will allow the data to be analysed in real time and to be proactive, not reactive. And that means that the current generation of machine learning and AI tools need to be developed further in order to actually be able to do that.
Fantastic. Well, Jerry, this has been great. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching.